Let me ask you something straight from the heart. Are you living your life by design or by default? Because every single day you're either moving closer to the life you want or drifting further from it. There is no standing still. And the truth is, change doesn't happen by accident. It happens by habit, not once in a while, not when it's convenient, but daily, consistently, automatically. What if I told you that your future is not written in the stars, it's written in your schedule? That your destiny is shaped not by massive leaps, but by simple, powerful habits practiced every single day. You don't need a life overhaul. You need alignment. You need the right rituals. Because when your habits shift, your identity shifts. And when your identity shifts, the game changes. So today, I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to help you transform, to give you 7 life-changing habits that you can start today. Habits that have helped millions break through, level up, and live lives they once only dreamed about. If you want more energy, more purpose, more momentum, lean in. These aren't theories. They are tools. And if you truly commit, I promise you today can be the turning point of your entire life. Most people try to change their life by changing what they do. They focus on actions, but action is just the surface. Real transformation begins with changing your state. Because when you change your state, you change the way you think, the way you feel, and ultimately the way you behave. Think about it. Have you ever tried to be productive or make a big decision when you're exhausted, frustrated, or overwhelmed? It doesn't work. You already know this. Your mind follows your body. Your emotions follow your physiology. And if you don't take control of your state, life will do it for you. Every day, people walk around reacting to whatever the world throws at them. They check their phone, read the news, and instantly they're in a disempowered state. Angry, anxious, distracted. And then they wonder why they can't focus, why they don't feel motivated, why their goals feel so far away. It's not that they don't have potential, it's that they're living in a low energy, low certainty state that's killing their momentum. You cannot access the best parts of yourself from a lousy state. So what's the solution? You've got to make changing your state a habit. Not something you do when you feel like it, but something you commit to daily, especially when you don't feel like it. That's when it matters most. Every morning, before the world grabs you, you take the wheel. You move your body, you breathe with intensity, you shift your focus to gratitude, to strength, to what's possible. Not because it's a feel-good exercise, but because it's how you rewire your nervous system for power, for certainty, for action. When you master your state, you stop being the victim of your environment and you become the creator of your reality. You begin to respond instead of react. You start taking actions that align with the best version of you, not the fearful one. And you know what? You'll notice people around you will start to shift too. Because energy is contagious. And when you show up with certainty, with presence, with fire, people feel it. This isn't about hype. This is about conditioning. Olympic athletes don't wait to feel good before they train. They train themselves to get into a peak state on demand. That's what you're doing when you make this a daily practice. You're training your nervous system to support your vision, your mission, your life. And over time, this becomes who you are. Not someone who's always stuck in their head, but someone who lives in their body. Someone who lives with purpose. Someone who can shift gears in a moment and lead. Because if you want to change your life, you don't start with your environment. You start with your energy. You don't wait for inspiration. You generate it. You don't wait for the world to slow down. You speed up your power. And it all starts with your state. If you want to transform your life, you've got to stop waking up and rolling into your day like a passenger. You've got to become the driver, because how you start your morning determines how you live your life. The first 60 minutes of your day are sacred. They're your foundation. And most people are pouring concrete with cracks in it. They wake up, grab their phone, check email, scroll social media, and immediately they're in reaction mode. That's not a life by design. That's a life by distraction. You've got to own your morning. Because if you don't, the day owns you. And then you wonder why you feel behind, why you're always catching up, why there's never enough time. The truth is, it's not a time problem. It's a pattern problem. The people who live with clarity, energy, and drive don't have extra hours. They just use their mornings differently. They set the tone. They create momentum. And that momentum carries them all day. This is where habits come in. Your morning routine doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be intentional. Maybe it's 10 minutes of silence. Maybe it's movement. Maybe it's writing down what you're grateful for and visualizing what you want to create. But you've got to make it yours. And more importantly, you've got to make it non-negotiable. Because if your day starts with you getting pulled into the noise of the world, you've already given your power away. But when it starts with you choosing to direct your focus, your energy, your mind, you're already ahead. This isn't about being a morning person. It's about being a purpose person. It's about reclaiming that first hour and using it to remind yourself of who you are and where you're going. It's about breaking free from autopilot and stepping into intentional living. Because when you win the morning, you win the day. And when you string enough of those together, you win your life. Look, discipline isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And the morning is the training ground. If you can overcome the pull of comfort, of snoozing the alarm, of diving into distractions first thing in the day, you can overcome anything. You're proving to yourself that you're in charge, that you don't wait for circumstances to shape you, shape them. You've got to stop starting your day as the old version of yourself. Because the future you, the one you're becoming, doesn't wait to feel ready, they act ready. They create certainty with their habits. They prime themselves with purpose. They move with intention. And it all begins the moment you open your eyes. Because when you commit to owning your morning, you're no longer just surviving your days, you're designing them. People love to talk about setting goals. They write them down, post them on vision boards, say them out loud at the start of the year. And that's great, it's a start. But let me tell you something most people never hear: goals don't change your life. Standards do, because goals are what you want, but standards are what you're committed to. And we don't always get our goals, but we always live up to our standards. Think about it. Every area of your life, your health, your relationships, your income, your growth, it all reflects your standards. Not your dreams, not your intentions, but what you're willing to settle for. If your standard is, I should go to the gym, how often does that happen? But if your standard is, I don't miss workouts, no matter what, that's a different identity. That's not something you try to do, it's who you are. And that shift, that change in how you see yourself, that's where the real power is. Most people don't have a motivation problem. They have a standard problem. They've tolerated too much from themselves for too long. They've allowed good enough to become acceptable. And the longer you tolerate something, the more it becomes part of your identity. You say things like, that's just the way I am, or I've always struggled with that. No, that's not who you are, that's who you've been pretending to be based on your current standards. So if you want to change your life, raise the bar. Start by identifying what you're no longer willing to tolerate from others, sure, but especially from yourself. Get honest, brutally honest. What patterns, habits, and stories have you been running that are keeping you stuck? What have you convinced yourself is normal that's actually costing you your future? Here's the truth. When you turn your shoulds into musts, your brain finds a way. It rewires. It adapts. You start thinking differently, acting differently, attracting different results. Because now you're no longer negotiating with your limitations, you're demanding alignment with your potential. But understand, this raising your standards isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. Because life will test you, it will throw setbacks, temptations, distractions, and in those moments your old standards will want to creep back in. That's when you double down. That's when you remind yourself who the hell you are and what you're building. And you stay in integrity, not just with your word, but with your identity. So raise your standards, not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, but because deep down you know what you're capable of. You've tasted that next level. And once you've had a glimpse of it, nothing less will satisfy you again. Your mind is your most powerful tool or your most dangerous trap. Every day you're either feeding it fuel or feeding it fear. And if you're not actively and intentionally shaping your thoughts, I promise you your environment, your past, and your doubts will shape them for you. You've got to feed your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. See, your brain is designed to keep you safe, not successful. It's wired for survival, not greatness. So if you're not careful, it'll keep recycling the same old stories, the same limitations, the same excuses. And most people live their whole lives listening to the voice in their head that says, be careful, play small, don't stand out, don't try again. That voice is familiar, but it's not true. It's just old. It's the echo of past failures and fears you never challenged. So here's the deal. If you don't program your mind, it gets programmed for you. By the news, by negativity, by people around you who gave up on their own dreams. You can't let that happen. You've got to take control of what goes in, because what goes in is what comes out. Garbage in, garbage out, power in, power out. Every single day you've got to feed your mind like a warrior. Read something that stretches you. Listen to something that challenges your thinking. Surround yourself with people who speak life into you. Because just like your body gets stronger with resistance, your mind gets sharper with input. But if you leave it on autopilot, it'll default to doubt. It'll reach for comfort. It'll talk you out of every good idea you've ever had. And don't just feed your mind when things are falling apart. Don't wait until the breakdown. Condition your mind now while things are stable. That's how you build a mindset that's unshakable when life hits. Because it will. Life will test you. It'll throw punches. And if your mind isn't trained to stay calm, focused, and mission-driven, you'll break down when you need to rise up. People think mindset is this motivational concept. It's not. It's a daily discipline. Just like brushing your teeth, you wouldn't skip that for days and expect your mouth to be clean, right? Same with your mind. Skip it for a few days and you'll notice you're more anxious, more reactive, more discouraged. But feed it right, and suddenly you're grounded. You're focused. You're unstoppable. You get to decide whether your mind is a battlefield or a breeding ground for greatness. And that decision happens every single day with what you read, what you listen to, who you talk to, and what you allow to take root in your thoughts. Because if you want to build a life that lasts, you've got to start with the foundation, and the foundation is your mind.